Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Good morning, Marvelites. Welcome to Marvel Movie News. Yes, Christian Bladt here for a fun-filled almost hour. I was going to say an hour, but that's kind of a lie. But almost an hour of fun-filled conversation about Marvel, about movies, about news, but, you know, light emphasis on the news. Joined, as always, by the one, the only, the effervescent, the immensely talented, I've missed you over the last week, Xia Anderson.
I know. When you texted me and you're like, hey, we haven't talked since Saturday, I was like, what? What is happening in the world? Also, hi.
and joining us for the first time ever on this show, Jeff Williams Jr., whom I met on the Legion after show, like our last week's guest, Elena, and also like Xia, except we weren't on the show at the same time. Jeff, welcome to Marvel Movie News.
Appreciate you guys having me. And yeah, I was like, it's funny how we all met on the same show, but just at different times.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Jeff, for our YouTube viewers, I think you really need to show off that great sweatshirt that you have. Check out Mr. Luke Cage right there.
So cool.
Well, this episode is Marvel Movie News 275, unless we lost count, which has happened before. And this episode is coming to you live from the New Mutants premiere red carpet, which might look suspiciously like your living room, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Please subscribe to us on iTunes at Marvel Movie News. You can find us at YouTube/Popcorn Talk. And don't forget to follow the show at Marvel News PTN or at the Popcorn Talk. And if you tweet the link out to our show with a message telling people to join us in the live chat, we will shout you out. Special thanks to Ryan Nilsson, Mr. Fantastic, in Mission Control at an undisclosed location. And Copodo tweeting from the Star Jam. So that's everybody. And Xia, you've got an eye on the chat. I've got half an eye on the chat. So we'll say hi to our friends there. And we look forward to having them join us in the conversation. And the conversation is something that I want to be super excited about. I want to be the most excited that I've been in a really long time. But I don't know joy anymore. I don't let myself get excited. I've been burned too many times by this New Mutants movie.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to see that it'll be released on August 28th. And we have a poll on the Marvel News PTN that the poll will still be up after the episode. So if you want to change the rankings, and I'll talk about it in a second. Xia, I'll ask you first, ladies first, as always. But since there are no ladies, we'll just go broads first.
Let's go with me.
But in any case, your thoughts on New Mutants giving us this release date of August 28th, 2020, by the way.
I believe that I tweeted it. I will believe it when I'm actually sitting there watching it. I don't believe it anymore with this freaking movie. It's like we thought we were going to get it. It's Michael B basically said exactly what I've been saying, and I have to 100% agree in the chat. Just release New Mutants on VOD and let's be done with it. For the love of God. Christian, I know when we were texting, you said you would rather go watch it in theaters, and I do understand that. But at this point, I feel like if they don't release it on VOD, we're just never going to get it.
I want it to be in theaters because I want the celebration of being outside and the symbolism of like, look, the theaters reopen and come on in. Although, to be 100% honest, most likely I'm going to go see it at the drive-in in Pomona. I've already come to terms with the fact that if Wonder Woman comes out on August 5th, I'm going to go see it at the drive-in and not in a movie theater. But maybe I'll feel more comfortable if movie theaters open sooner. But Jeff, your thoughts, what were your thoughts about this New Mutants movie? I mean, in the mid-March, we were getting some really cool trailers for it. Were you excited about it, or what were your thoughts? And then what do you think about this release date?
As we got closer to it, I got more excited because when we first heard about it, I was kind of hesitant. We were already moving away from the X-Men. We were moving all the way to Disney with Disney taking over Fox and stuff. So I kind of thought they were just like throwing away this movie and kind of leaving it. But then when we got closer to it, I was like, okay, it's going to be good. I heard good reviews and everything, and then switched. We're moving it all the way to August. The fact that they gave us a new date, I'm optimistic just because why not? I mean, I don't know why they would give us a date right now if they don't know, if they don't have like a good confidence that we can actually release it on that day. But I'm with you 100%. I don't know if I'm going to be in a theater for that. I would probably do a drive-through or a drive, like, because I've never even been in a drive-in, drive-through
Yeah.
movie theater because we don't really have that in Indiana. But at least not that I know of.
No,
But
and look, here's the
I
thing.
want to go to one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, 40 plus years ago where they live, there probably were more of them, especially the 50s and 60s. And I talked about this last week, actually reopening this weekend just for the season. It's always been open near where I grew up in Warwick, New York. There is a drive-in that, state of New York is able to open, outside of New York City. So that drive-in is open again this season. And the one in Pomona, not, it's like 40 miles from LA. That one's open 7 days a week. And, I took my kids to see Trolls World Tour there.
Mm.
We did not stay for the other part of the feature, which was Sonic the Hedgehog, but mostly because it started at 10 p.m. And the kids were asleep and I hadn't gone to the bathroom for 6 hours, which was part of the deal that my wife and I made. We're not getting out of the car for concessions. We did go to Sonic beforehand and they bring the food to the car. So, that we didn't get out. So, but having that gone well, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I will see Wonder Woman that way. And if New Mutants is at the drive-in, I will go see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is, will this really come out? And Colt Bedeau and I, we hatched a really fun poll, which there are 4 choices. Do you think New Mutants will actually come out? The choices were no, maybe, never, or Demon Bear. And I am happy to report that at this moment with 131 votes, Demon Bear is winning with 32%. But
As it should.
maybe is very close with 31%, with no at 26%. Very few people are feeling never, 11%. But you'll notice that no option did I give was yes, because I don't think anybody feels yes, this is going to come out. We've really been toyed with a lot. I mean, there's a funny meme that somebody sent around, which was, we had April 13th, February 22nd, and 2019, and then what was it? April 4th, 2020. So we had those 3 days. So this is our 4th release date for this movie. And here's why I think if movie theaters are open, and by the way, I think your actual movie theater that you go into and watch a movie indoors may not be open in Los Angeles. It definitely wouldn't be open in New York City, the 2 biggest markets. But I think in a lot of the country, you're going to get movie theaters that are open, maybe at like 40% capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that movie theaters will be open, and Disney as an entity would rather have you check it out. And we talked about New Mutants a couple weeks ago being the canary in the coal mine. They're going to see what happens to New Mutants. They're not going to put Mulan in there. They're not going to put any of their big stuff in there. It's not going to be, Black Widow. And they're going to see, do people come out for this movie? Is the box office outside of cities that, that aren't having their movie theaters open? So I don't know. Let us know in the chat. If it were open in the movie theaters, would you go? Or would you, one, wait for it to be on video on demand? Or do you just hope, like Xia, that, no, I don't want to go out of my house ever again? Can you give me all my movies video on demand?
Look, I do eventually want to leave the house again. And I like this. Like, the more that you're talking about this drive-in theater thing, and is the Sonic near the drive-in theater?
It's like 5 minutes away.
Holy crap. So I know what I'm doing this Saturday. I'm going to try to talk Nick into that, first of all, because that sounds awesome. Just get the hell out of my apartment.
Yeah.
This apartment, it's all apartments in LA are small. This one is starting to feel so small that I am going insane. There is some stuff going on in chat, though. Gamer Girl says, I think August is a safe month to move it to. But then Arkham says, release it on VOD. There's no telling what the Rona or whatever new government made,
Okay. No, that's fine. Like, if somebody
may come out in August to push the date even more, but Michael B says, I agree with Arkham. We don't know what will happen come August. I feel like they're like tentatively setting these dates, being like, oh, well, it'll come out then. But the fact of the matter is, we just don't have any idea what's going to happen then. I mean, our stay-at-home orders in LA have already been pushed till July? at this
Yeah,
point?
the end of
Well,
July.
end of
End of
July. So it's
July.
technically August.
Mhm.
So the idea that the first time we're allowed to go out of our house, we can go to a movie theater and watch Wonder Woman is very unlikely.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
I just don't see it happening. So I honestly don't believe that we're going to be seeing it in August because we just have no idea. Now they're talking about, well, we're not going to open anything up until we have a cure, not at a
Yeah.
certain it's like this is going to be crazy. And there just aren't enough, I think, drive-in theaters to support all these movies and people going to like, yeah, it's cool, but how many drive-in
Yeah,
theaters are there?
and look, if you live in a particular like an actual like metropolitan like city, you can't actually add a drive-in. Like
Right.
I was
Mhm.
this before for my personal podcast, the Blackcast. Thank you very much. I was talking to my friend Jessica, who's in Nashville, and she's going to go to an album release party at a drive-in, which is 40 miles outside of Nashville, because even in Nashville they don't have drive-ins. You know,
Right.
so
Why would they?
it's yeah, so there are definitely problems to it. It's not a great business model where you're like you can only generate box office returns if you go to a drive-in. But I do think, look, you have Alabama and Missouri are going to be open for concerts this weekend, basically. Like, you know,
There
not huge concerts, but there's a performer named Travis McCready who's doing a show that was supposed to be tonight that I think is getting moved to next week because of their stay at home. It's not really that important, the ins and outs of it, but it's like a 1,200 seat venue with 229 people, and he's doing a show in Missouri that is outdoors where they're going to try and keep people a little bit spread out. So if you're going to have concerts, you know, maybe you can do things like, you know, you like here in Los Angeles, you know, we have those cemetery movies. I don't know if anybody's ever gone to those, Hollywood
I
Forever
have, yeah.
Cemetery.
They're cool.
But maybe you could do a movie premiere at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. You know, I mean, that's a
Mhm.
solution. You know, where you have sort of some strict distancing. But I don't know, just in general, Jeff, let me bring it back to you. In terms of a movie, it doesn't have to be New Mutants. Maybe if you're really excited for this Wonder Woman movie, if you're able to see it in the theater, are you okay going, or are you a little bit weirded out by the idea of a movie theater?
I I'm on the fence because I know if I did go to the movie theater, I'd be in all sweats. I would have a mask on, I'd have gloves on. But like I don't like being around people in movie theaters anyways. So like I
Sure.
already buy tickets away from other people. So it's not too much of a stretch for me to say I'm gonna be in a seat 5 to 6
Yeah.
feet away from other people because that's how I like to enjoy movies anyways.
Yeah, the idea that like you're gonna go see a movie at like 2 in the morning now, and you know sit as far apart as possible. I mean, I get it, and you know the reason why we go back to this so often on the show, and I've asked a lot of people these questions, is because I think that this is an evolving thing. I think when we were first talking in mid-March, I'm like, look, if movie theaters open in June, I'll be fine to go to a movie theater by August. And then I've since had this idea put into my head. You know, the best time to go to a movie theater be the first day it opens. It's gonna be the cleanest it's ever been.
Yeah.
They're gonna be so diligent. They're gonna be scrubbing everything. You know, it's like they're gonna spray down every seat afterwards. Within a couple months, you go and it's like there's popcorn on the floor, and my
Mhm.
feet are sticky again. You know, it's almost like waiting is almost worse. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's we'll see what our options are come August,
It
but
also, I think, really depends on where you're at. Like you were saying in the country, like cities and things like that are going to be a lot different because some places are already sort of opening up a little bit.
my friend
It's
Jason lives in Austin, Texas, and
yeah,
he and his family, he has triplets. So God bless him. He needed to get out of the house. I completely understand. They went and dined in a restaurant in
yeah.
Austin. So you
And I
can do
think
that.
that stuff is starting to happen. And even, I mean, Sam Drew in chat says he has 4 drive-ins within 30 minutes of driving. And that's
Man.
I think that
That's
yeah, I
cool.
think that those things are more Arkham says same here, Sam, Dallas, and it's surrounded by suburbs. They have quite a few. So I do
Yeah.
think that like things it might not be the same for us here in cities, but I think maybe things will slowly start opening up and I think, you know, they're going to be at a lower capacity for movie theaters and things like that across the country, but I think that things are going to slowly start opening, but I don't know. I think what was it? Gamer Girl said, I think it was Gamer Girl said something about Tenet and Yeah, Tenet and Mulan that were supposed to be coming out in July, and she thinks those two have to move, and I agree. Which
Yeah,
so
I
I
think
want to see
Mulan,
Tenet
Without a
unless
so
I'm
bad.
doubt.
mistaken, I think Mulan has moved. Tenet
Yeah.
is not obviously a biopic of David Tennant, as Zia would hope, but it's actually a Christopher Nolan movie.
Dude, it looks so good though. I'm so
No,
pumped to see that.
yeah, I
Isn't
think that might move too. What were you gonna say, Jeff?
wasn't that like a very big production cost? Because I read something like they can't have that be VOD and they need it to be in theaters. If you need it to be in theaters because of the production cost, you need to push it because there's no way there's going to be big revenue coming in July or
Yeah.
June.
Exactly. Yep.
And your thinking is the same as Disney CEO, whose name I apparently mispronounced last week. Chapek. I don't know. It's not Bob Iger, but really, I think he's still making the decisions. So Disney's figurehead CEO, we'll just call him Bob. He said that they believe in the theatrical experience, particularly to launch big blockbuster franchise films. It fuels the entire Disney company, from consumer products to theme parks, all the way to Disney Plus. And so we really think the smart way is to launch our big tentpole films in the theater. And I think that New Mutants doesn't fit that bill. Again, it's just kind of see what happens. It's this movie that Fox produced. They're just like, whatever happens, but let's see if people go and see it. But if Black Widow has to move to November 2022, that's when you're going to see it, because it's only going to come out in a movie theater. A movie on that scale, we're talking about Wonder Woman, we're talking about this Christopher Nolan movie, these huge big budget movies, they have to, for them to be considered successful, even if they have to wait, they have to come out in a theater and at least get the box office that they're, something that approaches what they're accustomed to. So I thought that was interesting, that they're just reiterating, like they were going to do a theatrical version of the musical Hamilton. And I think that was going to come out like in a year and a half. And now it's going to come out on Disney Plus. I'm like, well, that was already filmed and it's a musical. Putting that on Disney Plus is a lot different than the idea of taking this movie that was designed to be, basically to fuel your industry, and industry is attached to it. You have your movie theater industry, you have all the manufacturers of snacks. Let's not forget about soda companies. We got to make sure that Coke doesn't lose all that business, where 6 cents of product costs $9. So they have a big overhead over there.
Get your money's worth and go back for that freaking refill.
Well, that's another question. Do you want to go back for a refill? I think that the self-serve fountain drink is a thing of the past, by the way. I think that they're like, to be like Chick-fil-A, go ahead, take the lid off. We'll fill it up for you. But keep yourself and those dirty hands of yours away from our beverages. So I don't know. I think that also the movie theater industry cannot survive if there aren't movies worth going to see at any point this year. And we've just thrown around three big ones. Mulan's a pretty big one too, and they're definitely counting on those ticket sales, even if it's like half or a third of what it would have been, if the pandemic hadn't happened. So I do think it's a little different with New Mutants. But what were you going to say, Zia?
I was just going to say, well, also, it's not like they're making any new movies. They can't right now. So all these movies they have on hold, like, that's it. So when those come out, then it's going to be a little while before we probably get our next movie, because they're going to have to actually work on those. Like, there are certain things they can do now, like writing or things like that, but you can't start production.
Yeah, I mean, my wife works on a TV show that's meeting just the way we are on Zoom, and they're virtually having writers' rooms. Her show, which is called Social Distancing, it's for Netflix, from Jenji Kohan, the creator of Orange Is the New Black. I'm working in a plug for my wife. Yeah, that's
Very
right.
nice.
But that show, the actors are going to film it themselves in their homes or maybe in their yards or whatever. So that show is actually going to be able to premiere at some point. But apart from like a gimmick, like, SNL does, Saturday Night Live does these at home episodes, you can't really do an ongoing series like
not
that.
like or a big budget movie.
Yeah, you can't do much this way. You can do this, content like ours. But some good news in sort of what you're talking, Zia, a good transition, is that the United Kingdom, as part of their reopening, has said that productions can resume, and that there's some issues attached to that. But things that were planned to film in the UK, not entirely, but include Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, Ant-Man 3, which we're not that close to, but that's another one, and the Moon Knight series. So the idea that you can go into production somewhere is good. It can be encouraging, but then you have to figure out liability issues. Does a movie studio want to put cast there? Do the actors want to go? What about crew? What about the caterers who bring food for that crew? You know, there's a lot of issues that go to it before you can actually open up your set. And here in Los Angeles, I believe, you know, we've got like a 4-stage reopening plan. I think that what they've said,
stage 1.
Yeah, but I think they said that it has to be stage 3 for production to resume. So let me ask you first, Jeff, your thoughts about this idea that production can open in the United Kingdom, but do you think that we're close to things actually reopening and them starting to film things anytime soon?
I think it's optimistic, but I don't think it's realistic to think that we're gonna just move all our production to the UK because of all the different costs it takes to get there, to take everything that we were gonna work on to be over there. I just don't think that they're gonna take that risk. I think they're just gonna hold it out because most productions can't start right now. So what's the point of starting production somewhere else when we're just holding the releases of everything? I think they're just gonna hold everything from the productions to the releases and let UK start productions on their own, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think, Xia? Do you think that that's the most likely scenario?
I actually do agree with that because you can film, I guess you can film parts. I mean, maybe you could go film a whole movie there, but also the point of what you said too, Christian, is that then there's the liability aspect of it and whether people are willing to go do that. And they're probably going to have to pay the people that go do that more. And are they willing to do that? Because it's like hazard pay, or like, well, we need to give them a little something if they're going to put themselves in danger like that. A couple good comments in chat. Arkamo says, I think that the only movie studio that's about to open back up is Tyler Perry's studio in Atlanta. And I do think I read that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard about that as well.
Well, Georgia as a state, the city of Atlanta was not as on board with what the state wanted to do, but that's a topic for the Trump Report Tuesdays at 11 a.m. over on AfterBuzz TV. Just got all the plugs. Don't worry, everybody gets the plug on this show.
You get a plug, and you get a plug. Also, Michael B said this would be a good move for studios to revert back to mid-range budgets instead of doing $100 million blockbusters. That's actually a good point.
I think executives would definitely agree with that sentiment. You know, it's like, all right, let's rein it in a little bit. But yeah, so I think that, and look, Marvel has facilities that they use in Atlanta. So I'm sure that they're keeping a very close eye on that. And, you know, I mean, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Atlanta opened a lot of businesses that other states haven't, including like bowling alleys and hair salons and things. So, you know, obviously, anytime you hear about a state reopening, the first thought is always that you hope everything goes well, whether you're surprised of some of the businesses that are opening or not. You hope that, like, well, hopefully they know best and everybody's fine, everybody's healthy, because also that next step is, okay, maybe we can start filming things in Atlanta. And if people start to feel more confident, you can rewrite. I mean, I think WandaVision was definitely filming there, and some of Falcon and Winter Soldier was definitely filming there. So I think that, you know, between there and if they feel like things are okay in the UK, and, you know, you have there are locations that you'll be able to film in, just Los Angeles won't be one of them, I think, and certainly not New York, you know. You know, the Showtime show, Billions, I think that they had like 7 episodes in the can, and then the lockdown happened, the shutdown. So they're just going to one day come back and do the other 5 episodes of their season. And I think that's what I said on this show, is that if they have a few episodes of WandaVision, a few episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier, well, please give that to us. And then be like, yeah, it'll be season 1.5 in like 6 months to a year.
I'll take that.
I would,
100%.
I mean, just to how much that we're all looking for new content. I think that even if you give us like, okay, like a 2-hour premiere that it acts like kind of like a movie, and we're only going to give you that, great. Just give me something, you know, for these shows that we were kind of counting on for the fall that have filmed at least enough where we could see something. So I don't know. I think that let us know in the chat if you think that production's able to resume, but also if you want to bring the personal aspect into it, if you were hired to be on a crew in Atlanta or the UK and your job started on Monday, are you comfortable going there? You might be, and you know that's great.
Like, again,
yeah, I
was like, no.
I'm not comfortable. Would I go? I need a job. So I was like, yeah, it's
Right?
like the comfortability, no. But
Yeah.
That's the other huge thing too, is you're starting to realize, like, it's getting to a point where how much longer can people not work? It's like, yeah, cool. You gave everyone a $1,200 stimulus check one time. Yeah, that's gonna last. What the
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've already spent mine on comic books, so
Yep.
I don't know what I hope another one comes, and then I'll spend it on action figures.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting, and it's while I hope that productions are able to resume safely, you also have to factor in every production that ever happens is insured, and can you insure a production in Atlanta or the UK right now for the cost of not one or two people getting sick, but everyone getting sick, and just because here's the thing about doing things slowly. When we were talking about movie theaters, if you do reopen and then you're like, oh yeah, like everybody who went to this movie theater in this city got sick, then every movie theater is going to close down, probably even the drive-ins, like everything's going to close down at that point. So you want to make sure that you're careful. And I think in terms of production, obviously all these companies, Marvel's a part of Disney. Disney doesn't want to take the wrong step here. And so I think that we're not getting any resumption of production anytime soon. But the idea that it is available as an option sometime soon, I think is at least encouraging. Anyway, do we have any more thoughts on that? I feel like we covered it, but I didn't want to leave anybody out. Anything in the chat, Zia?
Craig says, I live in the UK. Craig Robinson, I live in the UK, but I don't think we need to rush big productions wherever we are until health and safety can be ensured. Arkham O says, next thing you know, you're going to see these crew members have testimonials like nurses and healthcare workers that have been in the last few months. So like,
Sure.
I think people are kind of on the side of like just erring on the side of caution as opposed to just jumping back in.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, healthcare workers, obviously they're essential. I'm sorry to say this on Marvel Movie News. It is not essential that the next Spider-Man movie begins filming in July. I know it sounds crazy. It's not essential. It's important, but it's not essential. So, yeah, no, and I think that's, I think it's a great point. And I do think that, you're going to see all that. And look, in the UK, I mean, they had their prime minister got it, and he apparently, he fought through it and he did well. And I don't even want to bring the politics into it, but it's like, if your leader gets it, but then comes through it and you're like, okay, there might be something comforting there. Maybe that's helps over there. But
a lot of people are coming through it. That's not really the point. Like a ton of people are asymptomatic and walking around, but that's not, you're protecting people that aren't going to get through it. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
To go on a 30-second tangent, if production resumes in the UK soon, Zia, that means there won't be a delay on the new season of Doctor Who. So you must be excited about that.
Oh, so excited. Yeah. I can't wait for the next season that I'm not going to watch.
Anyway, on that note, let's move it along to another thing that Zia may or may not watch.
Uh-oh.
Captain Marvel 2.
Oh.
There's talks that Game of Thrones director Michelle MacLaren, I believe is her name, is in talks to direct the movie. And apparently the rumor is that this film will tie in very heavily to whatever the fifth Avengers movie is. This is somebody who directed Game of Thrones. So even though it's a TV director, Jeff, what do you think about going from not just any TV show, but something on the scope of Game of Thrones and being able to do a Captain Marvel movie?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I'm way more confident because she came from Game of Thrones. That's more of a cinematic TV show in every sense of the word, because every episode, if you watch Game of Thrones, there's so much going on. So I love that. But the only thing about this is that it leads into the next Avengers. I'm not a huge Captain Marvel fan. When she came into Endgame, like she came in very late. There's so much hype around her. I need more, so I'm gonna watch it, but I hope they tie in bigger things.
Well, so look at this. We've got two Captain Marvel haters on this show. Carol, I still love you. I still care about you. But I agree. And it was my wife also didn't like the Captain Marvel movie. And the biggest problem was they felt like, she's spending most of the movie not knowing who she is. So it's impossible to do character development. So I hope that we get to see more of that. Like, I wanted to tie into big stuff too, but between the two movies, we don't really know her. And those of us who have read her in comic books that have been published for 40, well, really, she first appeared like 50 years ago. You know her a little bit more from that, and you know where they can go and how likable she can be and how she can be best friends with Wolverine like she is in the comics. Come on, this is all I want. So, but yeah, I think that it makes sense, and look, Marvel will hire these TV directors, but it's, although to be fair, the Russo brothers directed Community. That I was going to say, like, you shouldn't take people who directed half-hour comedies, but right there, those are guys who did a comedy for television, for network television. So, what do you think, Xia? I mean, I know how you feel about Captain Marvel, but in terms of taking someone who has directed that kind of show, you would assume the ability is certainly there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that having someone of that caliber directing, as Jeff said, it's a very cinematic show, and so I think, and a lot of really good TV directors have made fantastic movies. So I think that aspect of it will be cool, and maybe a new director and maybe some new writing will help for it, make me care about that character a little bit more. I don't know if it was Brie Larson's fault or if it was just maybe a combination of everything that ugh. So I'm obviously going to go watch it. I'm not going to going to not watch it. But maybe maybe they'll give us a little something. Jeff said too, if it ties into something bigger, that will help. But if they give us more of the character you were talking about, Christian, or just like make her more likable, give us like something, just give us something to make us care about this character. That'd be awesome.
Well,
Couple
go ahead.
of, I was just going to say in the chat, actually a lot of good stuff. Rock says, good director choice between this and the new screenwriters. There may be hope for this movie yet. So that's cool. Jenna James, preach, fam. I ain't a fan of hers either. So look, we're not alone, Jeff. This is great. Arkham O says, what seasons of Game of Thrones? If it was the last seasons, if it was the last 2 seasons, I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, I don't think she directed the episode where they left the lens cap on the whole time and you couldn't see anything. That's not
always
her.
good.
Yeah,
that's
that was
good.
not her. Yeah.
Gamer Girl says, last time there was a Game of Thrones director directing a Marvel movie, that was Thor: The Dark World, and we all know how that turned out. So I'm worried about this news.
It's one of Zia's favorite movies. You love Thor: The Dark World.
I have to rewatch it.
I know we've been talking about
We've been
doing like a
talking
live
about it.
tweet or a watch along or something. We should definitely do that.
We need to, because I need to see it again, because I enjoyed it when it came out in theaters, but now I'm questioning myself. I'm questioning.
Because watch this, I'll see it and love it, and then you'll see it and be like, oh, that was garbage. I don't know why I liked it.
Terrible.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I think that we'll see, how this all shapes out. At this point, that is just a rumor, but I think it's interesting to talk about. I did want to give one more thought on Captain Marvel before we move on. And I would think that she would need to be teamed up with somebody that we all love, a beloved character. So how much more excited would you be for the film, Xia, if Spider-Man was in it?
Wait, say that one more time. I'm sorry.
If
I got lost
Spider-Man
in the
appeared
chat.
in Captain Marvel 2.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it would help the movie. I would be excited to see Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Would you just cover your eyes when he's not on screen?
And yeah, anytime that Brie Larson pops back up, I'd be like, I gotta pee.
What about you, Jeff? If they brought in, a one of our big guns, but I'm picking Spider-Man in particular because of how beloved he is. How much do you think that would help your excitement level for the movie?
I think it would help. I almost want someone new, but like off the Disney Plus shows. I think that could be cool because we already got someone new. I think bringing another new character could also bring our excitement, but if it's in a good way. I honestly don't think she needs a Spider-Man because Spider-Man already has his own things. But I'd rather see a Disney Plus character, maybe She-Hulk or just any of them.
Yeah. Although I would argue that Spider-Man didn't need Iron Man in his movie either, but that turned out well. So that was kind of why I thought about it. But yeah, I mean, look, the idea of the Disney Plus characters, you're going to have She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel and a whole bunch of others. So yeah, that could actually work out really well.
Yeah.
I wanted to go ahead.
I was just say, Gamer Girl says, I agree, Christian. She needs to be with someone. Nick Fury saved the first movie for me, in my opinion. Agreed, actually. E equals MCU. No, don't waste his last appearance on a Captain Marvel movie.
It's not going to be his last appearance.
And
Spider-Man's
Arkham,
going to be in like everything forever.
yeah.
Sony wants to make money. You think that they're not hit by the economics of right now? So I almost think that Spider-Man's going to be written into movies that he wasn't supposed to appear in, because they're like, we need Spidey in this movie too. Have him
Put
show up in a
Spidey everywhere.
multiverse of madness.
You get a Spidey and you get a Spidey. You
Everybody
get a
gets a Spidey. Quick point that if you're familiar with the comic book version of Deadpool, the artist who created him is Rob Liefeld, who is very outspoken about a lot of things. So not like he's involved, so maybe he doesn't know as much as he thinks he does. And I think that sometimes, as a pundit and somebody who is sharing their outlook and prognostication, Rob Liefeld is about as good as he is at drawing feet. But it's just a dig for people who know. Just Google Rob Liefeld feet, and then you'll realize what I'm talking about. But I don't know. Look, we'll get a Deadpool movie. We will definitely get a Deadpool movie. They're going to be idiots if they don't put Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. And if it ignores the first two movies, if it exists completely in a bubble outside of the MCU, which I don't think it should, it's still going to be fine. It's still going to do well. I think people will see it. Xia, the idea that do you have a preference? Like, do you want to see Deadpool interacting with the MCU, or would you rather they continue maybe having him be a little bit of like an R-rated offshoot and not as tied into it?
I would like both. I really, that R-rated offshoot, I feel like that's Deadpool and we need to still be getting that. That being said, I'm totally happy seeing him also pop into the MCU and interact with those characters in a more PG-13 way.
Sure.
I know there's a way for that to be done, especially because he's constantly breaking the fourth wall. So it's easy to be like, oh, can't say that in this movie, and it would still be funny and fine. And I would like to see those interactions, but I still need those R offshoots. And it's been proven those do well.
Yeah,
we can have both.
I agree. I want both of them that way. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I would be very upset if they don't incorporate him into the MCU, because he's such a strong character. Like, having that guy be so sarcastic when everybody's so uptight about the craziest things, it's just like it would be a great mixture. And it already has a big backing. Why not add that to the MCU?
Yeah, no, I think that that's got to be what their plan is. You continue to make R-rated Deadpool movies, but you can have him, you can soften him up a little bit and have him be part of big team ups. Look, there are comics like Deadpool destroys the Marvel universe, and I would love to see that at some point. Not literally destroy it, but seeing him interact with everybody, him just relentlessly flirting with Spider-Man and making Spider-Man so uncomfortable is one of my favorite things about the comic book version of Deadpool. Speaking of comic books, our last real topic is something that has been a little bit off the radar. Is in let's see, I think it's in about a month or so, we're going to get a new reboot of the characters, the New Warriors. And there's been some controversy about two of the characters. And I know, Ryan, you have an image to share with our audience who are watching on YouTube of these two characters. And they do have the names Snowflake and Safe Space. And I think that a lot of people understood this to be parody, and they thought these must be a parody. I think these are legitimate characters. The writer of this version of it is a writer for Stephen Colbert's show. So people were like, well, this must be a put on. I believe that these are non-binary characters, except if you look, you can tell what gender they both are. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. But they have these names. These characters are not being well received by, yes, the internet, but most notably by Joe Rogan's podcast, which if you're watching YouTube, you've probably seen Joe Rogan. He has a video where this is explained to him and he's laughing hysterically and he assumes that it is also a joke. That has 1 million views. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because seeing opportunity, there is one retailer, his name is Lawrence Doherty of Larry's Comics in Massachusetts. He made news by ordering 500 copies of #1 of New Mutants, because he sees the fact that 1 million people have seen this. People who, I do agree with the idea that people would probably hate read this comic. they want to see like, oh, this is going to be terrible. I have to see if it's as terrible as I want. But I think that obviously also we're talking about him on this show. He made a little bit of a headline by doing this. And if you know anything about this guy, and a quick Google, these characters, let's just say, don't line up with politically charged statements he's made in the past. So I think he's definitely capitalizing on this moment. But also, I think that he realizes there's enough interest in this. And I just, I wonder, Xia, you've been shaking your head so violently during this. For our audio only listeners, I think they heard you shaking your head.
Whacking my forehead. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Just the characters.
Yeah, this is the representation that people like that get. That's the representation. How insulting. Are you kidding me? That's so horrible and insane. And it looks like a joke. But they're doing that as a serious thing.
Calling them snowflake in safe space seems like you're belittling the thing you're trying to accomplish.
Well, I read about this when this first came out, and I watched the Joe Rogan clip because I was fascinated. I was like, are you kidding me? What is this? What is going on? That's supposed to be like taking the power back on those terms. It's not how that works.
Go ahead and weigh in on this, Jeff.
I despise that concept, taking the power back, because I mean, people in the Black community and just different communities try to take the power back of certain words, certain terms and stuff. I feel like you just can't. But I'm probably one of those people that's like, it's so bad, I have to like read it to understand how bad it is or see how bad it is. So I'm definitely gonna check it out, but I'm not happy about anything that is happening about it.
No. You're not checking it out because you think it's gonna be good.
No.
It's like, oh, Sharknado 6. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna set the DVR for that.
Did they really make it this bad?
Yeah, you're like, not because Ian Ziering and Tara Reid have gone to acting class, because they haven't. So you're like, oh no, I want to see this. I want to see another Sharknado. So there is a curiosity. And look, I also remembered these characters from a couple months ago, but seeing the headline that somebody ordered 500 copies, and also the fact that this is a painfully slow news week, I was just like, oh, I definitely want to talk about this. And let us know in the chat what you think about these characters. And look, if there's anybody who, I think it might be well-intentioned. I think it's misguided. Go ahead.
Sure. Maybe, I guess, but good God, out of touch. And someone says that in here. Okay. So there's a lot here. I'm just going to like quickly speed through them because there's a ton. Okay. Nope, sorry. Thunder God Cairo, oh Marvel no, .. Arkamo, are those jokes? Rock, oh man, I don't even know what to say. Jenna James, in all caps, Jesus with a Z, Christ Marvel, and then I'm gonna keep quiet on this. Xeno Hour, this has to be satire. Gamer Girl, looks like Marvel's version of DC's Wonder Twins. Arkamo, same Jenna.
Somebody posted that. The Wonder Twins are the from the Super Friends, the animated series, and also we'll transition to unpopular characters in a moment. These are not particularly popular characters, but they're better liked than these two.
That's bad. Michael B, oh God, let this be a joke. I feel like there's more, but it's just, it's insane.
There's something inspired and revolutionary about having your character named Black Panther. Okay, that is there's not an accident.
An awesome character.
Yeah, he's a well-defined character, but even when he's just a sketch on a pad and you're like, this guy's gonna be called Black Panther. It's like, great, that's a cool idea. And I think that obviously comes from an important place. And look, the characters were very diverse in Marvel, really the late 60s and way throughout the 70s. I mean, Luke Cage got his own series. I mean, he premiered in his own series. He wasn't a spinoff from anywhere. So, I think that we've had some gay characters, we've had transgender characters. And I think that the idea of inclusivity is not a bad one. I think
of course not.
That this is something that when it was at the sketch phase and somebody wrote the name Snowflake on it, it was probably like, there's a good first attempt, but let's go back and think of something better that maybe won't lead to us being ridiculed.
Well, and also it's, did you read about what their powers are? Yes. Somebody said it and it made me laugh so hard. The character that has the backpack, they're like, okay, so this is just Dora the Explorer. grown up. Like the
Look,
characters and the
she can
powers
talk to
are
maps
bad.
just like Dora can. Yeah, exactly.
What is happening? Anyway.
So I wanted to spend our last couple minutes, and we are almost out of time, about unpopular characters. Now, if there's any character that comes to mind that you don't like, now both Xia and Jeff have weighed in on Captain Marvel, so I'll give you a moment to talk about somebody else. I'm going to talk about literally my least favorite Marvel character, created by Steve Ditko, was one of the members of the earlier incarnation of the New Warriors, and his name is Speedball. If you don't know Speedball, it's not even a 1960s sensibility. It's like a 50s sensibility that they tried to plop into the 90s, and the New Warriors were supposed to be this cool new version of it, I don't know, like the new X-Men basically. And they weren't like, there's Night Thrasher, and it's like, oh, he's got a skateboard. Oh man, and it's just like, but Speedball had his own series before this. And to me, that's just one of the words. There are other characters that people don't like. Like I think that the tide has really turned on Jubilee. And my wife, for those who don't know, is Chinese American, and she and her sister grew up. They loved Jubilee because it was a superhero that looked like them. Although, to be fair, in the animated series, the pigmentation is not quite as Asian as in the comics, but still, that's neither here nor there. So I think that the fact that she wears a yellow raincoat seems to be the thing that people hate about her. So that's a character that maybe people don't love as much. But does somebody come to mind for you? I'll ask first, Xia, that, and we've already talked about Carol Danvers, so it has to be somebody else. Is there just a character that just annoys you, whether they've been in movies or not, that you're just like, I can't stand this one or that one?
I'm really trying to think about that. You know what one came at first to me because you've brought it up and then I looked into it, but this is hard because I don't know if it's hated. It's more just like, wait, what? Paste Pot Pete.
Paste Pot Pete. Paste Pot Pete just has a bad name. Yeah.
He just has a bad name, but like that character is hilarious. But I'm trying to think of like other, what character I really didn't like, that particular iteration, not the character itself. I love the character, but the rogue that they gave us in those X-Men movies was a real bummer.
Oh yeah,
Anna Paquin.
Yeah. Academy Award winning actress. Her part was
not her fault.
Yeah, not her fault. They did have to play her younger, which I thought was good. I liked her dynamic with Wolverine, but
that was fine. But that was you basically did the dynamic of
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, Kitty Pryde,
and then Jubilee. Yeah.
And Jubilee,
there's always like a good dynamic of Logan, looking out for younger female super characters. Our final point, Jeff, is there anybody that just drives you crazy that is a Marvel character that you're just like, I don't get it. This one annoys me.
The first one that came to mind, we're gonna stick in the MCU, was Fat Thor. Like it was a fan favorite to people, but like I just got so annoyed by how they just like turned it to Fat Thor, but he was still supposed to be just as strong, just as powerful. Like if he's Fat Thor and hasn't been Thor for a while, then lean into that. And the rumors that they might continue Fat Thor into the next Thor, it's just like, I don't want it. That's what it was frustrating to me.
It would have been funny if he couldn't pick up his hammer anymore, not because he's not worthy, just he's not strong enough. He if he tries to fly and he just falls over because he not realizes that he's twice the weight he should be. Well, let us know in the chat if there's any characters that you feel are on par with Snowflake and Safe Space. And by the way, anybody who is excited that they have these characters, please let us know that too. There aren't wrong answers. There's just the way that we feel, and we're the ones on the show, so we're the loudest. I have this microphone, so that's really why we're getting these viewpoints on here. But I'm always interested in why people feel differently. I hope that one day both Jeff and Z are able to appreciate Carol Danvers on the way I do, but I realize that they haven't given you that just yet. Jeff, where can people keep in touch with you?
Yeah, you guys can continue the conversation with me at Jeff Will Jr. on all your social media platforms. Or if you guys want to continue looking into the Black Superhero Almanac, we're producing more content, just highlighting all Black superheroes through AfterBuzz TV.
Yeah, and I mean that's a great thing. There are some great characters, and obviously it expands beyond the Marvel universe. And you're on some after shows at AfterBuzz for you did Swamp Thing, but that ended abruptly. But what are some of the other shows that people are interested in where they can find you on an after show?
So we just finished The Flash last night. We did I was on For Life, which is not superheroes, but like I'm trying to get on. We'll see. I might be on Stargirl, so we might be doing some more DC TV shows until Marvel TV shows come back.
Yeah, and if you want to see old episodes of the Legion after show, you'll see both Jeff and myself there. And if you want to go to the previous season, you'll see Xia there too. Xia, where do people keep in touch with you?
Twitter and Instagram at Xia_land. It's XIA_land. Also check out my Twitch page, twitch.tv/XiaLand. A lot of food, a lot of talk. You pretty much come in and talk about anything. So it's a fun time for anything.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And for fans of Star Trek, we did a special one-off where we set out to react to the trailer for Star Trek Discovery Season 3 in what I thought was going to be a 10 to 15 minute episode. And if anybody who's ever done a show with me knows that all of a sudden it turned into 45 minutes. And then we turned off the camera and did another 45 minutes that you won't see, but was equally as fun with the co-hosts for the Star Trek Discovery After Show. You can find that over on AfterBuzz TV. And of course, we'll be right back here next Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to our host. And as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.